In accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6, PL 1975, C-231, S-1, amended 2006, C-70, S-2, the Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending a notice of the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press, the New Poster, on January 8th, 2021. Via email, copies of this notice have also been placed at the Administration Building, Bulletin Board, District Schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, and filed with the City Clerk on January 8th, 2021. The Asbury Park School District will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skill and character to succeed in a diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please, Mr. Hastings.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Alves Anderson? Here. Ms. Breach? Here. Ms. Cook? Mr. Grillo? Here. Mr. LaRocca? Here. Mr. Remy? Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski? Here. Ms. Etienne? Here.
May we stand for the flag? Start with some committee reports. Mr. LaRocca?
Thank you. The Finance Committee met June 21. There was a discussion with regard to the ESSER 3 funding. We discussed a number of things, and also we're dealing with ESSER 2 funds as well, as I believe the ESSER 3 funding will kick in the following year, correct?
Yes, we're in the middle of completing the application and the Safe School Return Plan. ESSER 3 will be in November.
We realize there's something of a nationwide demand as we get estimates on improvements to HVAC systems. We may be seeing some delays in timelines and additional costs moving forward, but we're appreciative of the funding and can put it to good use with regard to the facilities. Second point, with regard to our ESIP plan, we discussed moving forward and a process of going back out to bid for proposals. The initial company, in effect, had a complete change of leadership. There were some issues involved there. We've had bond counsel, board counsel involved. We've now made the determination we want to move forward and seek proposals, start again with an entity to pursue the ESIP. Third point, the Barack Obama school. I think we're seeing there's differences of opinion among senior administration, different opinion between board members, and we're looking at a number of options of how to repurpose that building. It brings up other issues with regard to 910 4th Avenue that I believe will be discussed in executive session today. We had our first meeting of the APASA negotiations, and we have 2 other meetings scheduled, I believe one next week, so that's proceeding with that collective bargaining agreement. And then as you reviewed your agenda for this evening, you see this is the time of year when we do a number of contractual renewals. So all of those contracts you see are something of standard operating procedure with regard to those third-party entities we work with throughout the year. Their contracts need to be renewed. Under the other category, We received another call about leasing the high school from July through September. We don't temporarily lease out our entire buildings where we clearly need, we will be using the high school somewhat. We need access to the high school. There's really not much to discuss there. So the committee was not in favor of moving forward with any further discussion of that initial request by that individual. And then we also made a request for more detail on the costs associated with the boilers at Barack Obama, and include in that any environmental costs as well. Thank you.
I have a question. Okay. Mr. LaTorraca, just curious, who was the person that was requesting the use of the high school? Is it a group? Is it an individual?
The call was received, I believe, by our board counsel, and it was an individual. Whether it was on behalf of a group, that was not discussed at the meeting. Whether it was, in effect, legal counsel for some other group, we weren't aware, but we felt based on the content of the initial proposal, it wasn't worth following up with any other steps. Understand it was the same individual who had called about purchasing buildings. Whether it was representation of the same group or not, I don't necessarily know that.
So about the boilers, I know we got an estimate, right? What further detail, because the estimate did not itemize what needed to be fixed, the original estimate that we got?
So I believe
No, go ahead, Jeff.
the original estimate of approximately $700,000 to replace the 3 boilers at Barack was given. However, that was a couple months old. So the committee had asked that we talk to the architects and get an updated number based on current supply and contractor issues. Now that everybody's coming back and there's lots of work being done, the architect spoke with the engineer and suggested that the pricing could be closer to $800,000 than $700,000.
Okay, so now if we get a new estimate and get the details, are we going to be ready to move? Because it sounds like the price is changing. Like if we get an estimate and wait another 2 months, then it changes again and we have to do it all over again. So are we going to be prepared to move at that point?
I will speak that I feel like there's a general consensus to move. Where there's not consensus is the specific direction we're moving. So that has to be at some point clearly have a majority go in one direction or the other with regard to overall use of Obama.
Okay, I believe regardless of overall use, the boiler is something we're going to have to fix no matter what we do, all right? So I think that we can decide on a consensus tonight about like getting the boiler done, because no matter what we're using the building for, we have to address that.
To the extent we're using the building, yeah, we're going to have to look at the improvements to the building. It's not a perfect building, but it's a usable building, and that's been clear. The discussion we had was if in fact there is to some degree academic use of the building, and I believe administration and our state monitor was going to look at that and see if there could be more detail to this requirement. You can consider using the ESSER 3 and ESSER 2 funding and that becomes an issue. You're trying to determine how to use the building. We're also trying to determine the best use of both taxpayer funding, federal funding that's coming because of improvements that could be made due to COVID, and that that plays into the mix as well.
Okay, what I think I'd like to do is form like a subcommittee that works with the administration to kind of start putting on paper and putting flesh to some of the ideas that we're having for the building, because time is ticking away, and we've been discussing it for a couple of years now. So I think I'm going to do an ad hoc committee that kind of reports to finance and buildings and grounds, so that way those two stay tied together.
I had concerns regarding the building. I feel that the board had made a decision based on the information that was presented to us at that time. However, there are other factors that have come into play that were not available, which I don't want to go into now. It can be discussed in executive session. But there is also the cost to rehab a third floor. And now with the additional cost of the boilers, I don't know if Mr. Hastings has the figures for the EPA, the environmental issue, as well as the exhaust stacks. So I'm thinking that we're paying more money just to rehab the third floor when we have something else available to us. But we can discuss that if you prefer in an executive session.
Yeah, I think we should, because even with another option, there's still costs attached there too. So I just want to compare apples to apples.
Exactly. So I agree. I just didn't want to go into great detail right now.
Okay. Mr. Grillo, do you have something to report out for policy?
Sorry, can you hear me? Okay. So there were some revisions to the policies, so certain policies. They're mandatory, they're based on changes in law, and there are some revisions that are changes, essentially just changes to language of existing policy. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think these are all first readings, but they're adoption of certain changes to the policies described in Strauss-Esme alert number 223. And that includes abolishing specific educational improvement plan policy. There's a revision on bylaws and certain policies related to non-renewal of non-tenured teaching staff members, as well as teacher evaluations and evaluation of teaching staff members. A lot of it is just language, what constitutes teaching staff. And I believe that's it. We did talk a little bit about the Bridge Year pilot program, and kind of the language that goes into that. And I'm trying to find it here, but just in terms of time, I don't know if Mr. Hastings wants to describe that to us, because I think it's pretty important to bring up. Not to put you on the spot, Jeff, but.
No, and perhaps Mr. Ruiz, I can put him on the spot to share the pain there, but with COVID-19 pandemic and the virtual nature of schools throughout the state offered a bridge year for students up to, I believe, age 21, and also offers an extension of athletic programs to those students, provided they're enrolled in the district and taking graded curriculum. So it was a new law that was enacted by the legislature this year, and the policy was written to match that, the passage of that law.
Just one thing, if I may. Isn't there in that policy or the regulation that you have to appoint somebody as to designate the bridge program? Isn't there an appointee or something we have to do also?
Yes, I believe it does, and I'd have to double check, but I believe you're correct. There is a requirement that someone be designated as the bridge year contact, if you will.
Are there any additional questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Grillo.
Okay.
Ms. Breach?
Our athletic meeting basically consisted of 3 items. One was the athletic banquet that went off very well. They say thank you to the staff that put that together. Some of, they're not here now, but it was very well attended. It kind of caught us off guard how many students and family came there. And we had a great night. The other, our schedule came out for the fall. We are a new group as far as football and some of the other classes. And our last home game would be the Thanksgiving game that we normally would have a home game in October to have our homecoming. Unfortunately, our last home game is September 24th, so it kind of puts everybody in a crunch for a homecoming day being so early this year. But I trust Mr. Jabino and Mr. Moore are going to make that happen, try to get some things going over the summertime. But September 24th is the only date that we can do for a homecoming this coming fall. The other item that we have is a resolution on the agenda, B8, number 30. It's something Mr. Jabino put together for a summer program for academics and athletics. And Mr. Jabino is here. I don't have a lot of details with it because it was just put together the last couple of weeks. So if anybody has any questions surrounding that resolution for the program, you see a lot of costs on there. The costs are basically our costs, our maintenance costs. The teachers, the coaches, the people that are going to be helping out are supposed to be all volunteer. And majority of them that I know of right now are going to be coming from in-house. If anybody's volunteering outside the school district, they have to go through the background check. I don't have a list right now. I think Mr. Jabino is working on that. But again, if anybody has any questions concerning that item, Mr. Jabino will be the one to answer those questions.
Are there any comments or questions at this time?
I'll wait to address that agenda item when the superintendent asks for, everybody to ask questions here. No, during the work session.
Okie dokie. Mr. Remy? Oh,
There'll be a presentation on this 30 through A through F.
is Mr. Jabino?
Yeah, Mr. Garbino is here to answer any questions regarding that. We could also wait till I do my CNI presentation, as it's part of my agenda as well, so it's up to you how you want to handle that.
Okay, so we'll wait then and get as much information as.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Remy? Elizabeth Browns?
Good evening. So we had our meeting June 21st. We had 4 key items: facility use requests, the ESIT, Barack Obama HVAC boiler, and then others. So for the facility use request, the City Recreation Department has requested use of the soccer field at Bradley Elementary during the summer. So the city acknowledged a conflict on that day, and we will not schedule an activity on that day. Mr. Sosa met with Mr. McKee and Mr. Wright at Asbury Park Little League to discuss scheduling and field lights. If practice or games times are changed, canceled, Mr. Sosa will be notified so the light schedule can be adjusted. We also discussed several requests from the athletic department for this facility use during the afternoon and evening during the summer. As custodial and maintenance staff are on the day shifts during the summer, overtime charges will be assessed to the athletic department to cover the cost. So for the ESIP, we discussed options of moving forward with it and the process needing to solicit proposals from the energy service companies. The committee acknowledged the need to separate from the Energy Systems Group and to start a new process over. While this will delay some of the improvements, the district will be utilizing ESSER funds to make improvements to HVAC system. And moving on to Barack Obama HVAC and the boilers in the central office relocation. So we discussed a plan to relocate the central office and potential changes of the timeline. We discussed the need for a comprehensive approach for repurposing the Barack Obama building, including housing and maintenance department, adding community uses and central office. We also discussed the financial flexibility accorded to the district if it redesignates the building of this as a school. We'll reach out to department county offices to discuss the level of programs needed to designate the building as a school. The committee also noted the current option to extend the existing lease at 910 Fourth Avenue or purchase the building from the landlord. And then the others, we had renaming the Bradley School field after Mr. Miller Lewis, and the upper elementary school athletic fields after James Familera. We'll review the policy over and the guidance process. And we also discussed recent partnership proposal from Charity Kings and how to move forward based on the advice received from the board council. We will begin developing the scope of work needed for in the district and discuss the approach should be, if the approach should be based on one project at one time or more comprehensive list. We also discussed Booster Club Foundation as an alternative way of raising funds for various projects. That was it.
Okay, are there any questions or comments for Mr. Remy's report? Okay,
Questions, concerns? All right, thank you for your time.
Mr. Ruiz, would you like to give us the curriculum?
Absolutely, be my pleasure. Good evening. Just want to kind of briefly go through some of the items on the agenda for the Curriculum and Instruction Department. Items 13 and 14 are our grant request from the state of New Jersey. One is our Every Student Succeeds Act grant, and the second one is the Individuals with Disabilities Act, IDEA grant. The basic grant will give us a total of $712,000, and the IDEA for preschool about close to $19,000. Going down to items 17 and 18 are all part of our early childhood items. The first being the Teaching Strategies Gold online assessment portfolio, and our creative curriculum, the online professional development portal for creative curriculum crowd that our teachers will be working with for their PD. Moving on to number 21, wanted to recognize that we have 4 of our law and public safety students that are going to attend the Rutgers Pre-Law Summer Program. Pretty excited about that. And we're going to, a few of the students have gotten a scholarship and partial scholarship, and we're going to cover the cost of the remainder of their costs for the program. So this is pretty exciting for us. I have the names here. I'll share those with you later if you want to see them. Items 23 to 26, those 4 items pertain to our TLAA summer program, our vendors that are part of the they're part of the grant, so they're written in the grant, but we wanted to point them out that they will be providing some enrichment activities for our students, not limited to, but as you can see, Lake House and the Children's Educational Foundation, which is our singing cowboy, and Team Step Up, so the students will be doing some step activities. Okay. Moving on, finally, items 29 and 30 are part of the athletic committee's request, and as we stated earlier, we have Mr. Mark Rubino here to discuss his items that are on this agenda, and so I can turn that over to him. One is to have an athletic program, or excuse me, a person to help with the NCAA guidelines. That's number 29. And number 30, the Summer Educational Athletic Initiative. Okay, Mr. Garbino is here to answer any questions.
Mr. Garbino, can you just give us an overview of the summer program for those
Yeah,
board members that?
So the reason for it is that for a year and a half, our students have not been in school. And they've not really been in contact with staff throughout the year. So I know I threw it together pretty quickly, but I was able to get 16 volunteer teachers and staff members to help run a program in order to get our students back into the swing of school again. And we know that they have missed out on a lot of the academics being home. So it is important that we give them an enrichment program that we can work on those skills that the students are weak in. So people ask, well, how would you do that? Well, we have many programs. We have many programs here. We got our data warehouse where we have Linkit, and we have our students' information there. We also have HMH read programs and System 44 programs, Read 180 programs, that our staff members, again, the staff members that volunteered are our staff members. They're not staff members from anywhere else. They're from Asbury Park. So they have access to this information to begin with. So it's easy to find out. Mark Tribino walks in and they want to know, Mark, what are you weak in? Let's look at your test scores. Well, Mark's weak in fractions, or Mark's weak in writing a sentence. So those are areas that we can work on, skills that we can work on with our students during the summer, because what happens is you get there's a dead period during the summer. Students are not doing everything they can be doing. So it's in order to keep them focused and keep them working, I wanted to bring a program in that will give that opportunity for the students. Now, the hook for that program is also an athletic piece. Now, people say, well, is this an athletic program? No, it is not an athletic program. This is a district program that is here to help our students. And we use sports in order to get the students involved. So if they want to play football, they want to learn how to dance. We want a dance program. They want to learn how to play soccer. We have soccer going in basketball. So that's what this program is for. And again, it's volunteer basis. I know there are costs associated with the program, but there are costs associated with every program in this district that you can't get away with that. But the cost that we're not seeing is close to $70,000 in volunteer costs that we would pay our teachers or our staff to be here from 4 to 8 o'clock at night. So they're giving up their time because they want to give back to the students. They know that these students have been home way too long, and they all agreed, hey, listen, I'll absolutely do it. I probably could have gotten more staff members. But right now we're at 16 staff members, all in-house staff members. So it's easy for them to look at the data. There's no worry about some outsider looking at student data. No, it's our staff. Again, they are volunteering their time to do this. And I think it's important. And I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me today. I go to the supermarket, and I like to fill my office up with snacks and drinks. And I ran into two members of the community, and they both came to me. I met them at separate times. Met one, and then the other one came in, and they asked me, like, you know what, and here's what they said to me: do you care about our students? That's what I was approached with today at the ShopRite. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, we do. And what they're doing is they're reading, they're hearing things, and I said, but we do care. So, and I'm thinking back to this program is a perfect opportunity to show, yeah, we do care. We have students, we have teachers that are volunteering and staff that are volunteering their time to be here. And yes, is there a cost associated? Yes, we can't get away. We have to pay custodians, maintenance. Absolutely, they should get paid. Our teachers are doing this on a volunteer basis to help our students progress during the summer to get ready for the school in September, because we will be back in school in September. And it's important that our students are ready, and it's also important that our staff give back to our community and our students, and they see that, and they build that connection, build that bridge. And that's the other thing, is I had this growing up. We did it when I was at St. Benedict's Prep in North when I coached and taught. This is the bridge that builds between the community and the school, the students in the school, parents in the school. So that's the reason for this, is to bring that back, bring people back in, bring our kids back in, and let them know, hey, we're here for you, and we want to work with you. So that's the reason for this program. Again, no one's making money off it. It's just paying our custodians.
Thank you, Mr. Tribino. Are there any questions? Ms. Lizinski?
Mr. Tribino, I see you changed the account number you're using from the one you started with, and it's coming out of the high school account. Does the principal know that you're requesting the $78,000 for the program out of
The account
school-based
I
budget?
used, there was an account number there originally.
Yeah, there's no account
Yeah,
number in
no,
the
so I didn't
budget.
change an account. We had to work out an account number. So I know there's $70,000 that is, or $78,000 being spent here. I was also asked during the summer, well, actually during the spring, I was asked to cut $70,000 out of my budget. I did. I cut $70,000 out of my athletic budget in salaries. So we are now, salary-wise for coaches, we're comparable to other schools around our area. So that's where I'm looking to, we saved the money there, but now I'm putting the money back in to.
Yep. I understand, but this account doesn't exist in the high school, this account number.
I'll have to look into that.
It doesn't exist, and most of the time, in the other schools, it's used for, it's actually used for salaries of teachers for clubs and things like that.
Okay.
It's not used for custodians, because, 421 is after-school programs, not for custodial, and you're using it for custodial
I'll have to look into that.
strictly. The other question I had was that I thought that you weren't going to have an academic piece. Now you're going to have an academic piece now?
That's not true. In the last two meetings, we discussed having an academic piece. The academic piece was enrichment. Okay, it's just enrichment with skills. So that was discussed at the athletic committee meeting and also at CNI, that we would have an enrichment program for that. That would be the academic piece of it.
Well, the best way to do that is to do a structured academic piece, and then you could use ESSER funds, but
And that would cost us money when we have teachers that are looking to volunteer their time. So I was not looking to take money away from other programs that we were doing, when I can have teachers volunteer their time and do the same thing at this point.
okay, the volunteers, you don't have them on the agenda to approve by the board.
That, I sent the list in, Mr. Ruiz, I'm not sure if you're able to give that, but I sent that in last week.
No, I have the list. It was, the volunteer list was presented to the curriculum committee.
Okay.
I did speak to one person on this list, and they said you never spoke to them about the program.
What person was that?
I'm not going to say who it
Okay,
was.
no problem. I will speak, but everyone,
So all these
everyone on this list was spoken to, yes.
Everyone knows that
Yes.
they're volunteering?
Yes, they do.
There's no one else that you said is going to be involved in this program?
At this point, no. Anyone else would have to be board approved.
I'm sorry.
Let me ask you,
I'm sorry, really quick. Does anybody have the list?
right here. Okay.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
But you want to start the program like within a week, and you should have all your volunteers and everything. They can't get background checks.
They don't need background checks. They all work for
No,
Asbury
you
Park.
said right now,
Those
these are
are-
the only individuals that will be volunteering, but then you added at this time.
At this time, yes. And again, if there were others, yet they would go through the process. Right now, we have 16 volunteers that will start this process. Or start the program, correct.
The other issue I had was that some of the programs overlap, football, basketball, they're at the same time. How are you going to accommodate both programs on the field and in the school?
Okay, so if you've been to the middle school, you know the middle school has a curtain. We have 2 basketball courts in the middle school. That's always been the case. During the football and soccer season, our football team and soccer team practice on the same field together. We have 50-yard line west, 50-yard line east. That's how it's always been done. So we can accommodate both football, soccer, and all basketball in the gyms.
Maybe you misunderstood my question. Some of your volunteers are volunteer for both sports, and they occur at the same time
Okay.
on your schedule. How are you going to manage all the children when people are jumping back and forth?
I put down all the sports that each can coach, because there are some nights, football's not every night, soccer's not every night. So I can coach football one night, soccer, and basketball another night. But putting both sports on allows coaches to be able to go to each area.
Okay, so
But
basically.
all areas will be covered with,
Basically, in summary, you'll have a schedule of when the
Correct.
sports are played. They're not necessarily going to be played
Yes.
at the same time
Correct.
every day.
So I'll go back to the budget question. How are you going to accommodate the $78,000 from your school-based budget? Because
Again-
this line item doesn't exist, so.
okay, and I'll have to talk to Mr. Hastings. I may have mistyped the number wrong, but I will talk to Mr. Hastings about that.
Well, my suggestion would be that to come back to the board when all those things are worked out, because right now, how is the board going to approve a program without the proper funding source?
Again, I will
It's the
check with the
beginning
state.
of, it's,
Not a-
no, I understand, it's the beginning of the year, and you're right off the bat, and I understand it's for the kids, and I understand, you know, the concern that here, but my suggestion is to do it right. You know, get all the ducks in a row so the program can be successful, but right now, your budget wasn't accommodating this program, the school budget.
Okay, guys, I don't want to cut this.
Okay, you know, I understand, real quick. First of all, the program is going to be done right. Nothing we do here in Asbury Park is going to be done wrong. Hold on. Nothing is going to be done wrong. It's going to be done right. I will discuss Mr. Hastings. I may have typed the number wrong that was given to me, and that is quickly and easily fixed. We can wait to another board meeting, but that won't be until the end of July. And therefore, we're going to waste 16 volunteers and waste time that kids will not get this program. And if that's what you so choose, then that's fine. But again, I don't think there's anybody can get 16 volunteers to spend their time from 4 to 8 o'clock at night helping our students.
Okay, so
I
let's
would
do
like to
this,
get it
because
started.
we have an executive session that we have to
I-
go into. Let's,
I have a question or a comment.
Yes.
I don't think it's fair to anyone, including myself, to be presented with an item this fast at the end of the year with the comment you just made to Barbara that if that's what you want to do and deny kids, then go ahead and put it back on her.
Okay,
Okay?
Understood.
All right? And I don't think that it's in any way fair to suggest that the board is not interested in providing programs for kids. But obviously, we just went through budget, and this was never mentioned. It was never presented for any of us to consider. To say Mr. Hastings is going to find the money, this is not Mr. Hastings' program, nor should he be looking to tell you, you should be telling him. If you want to do things properly in the right way, which you just quoted a couple minutes ago.
yeah, but I didn't say I blame Mr. Hastings for anything. I said, Mr. Hastings, I will talk to Mr. Hastings. I may have typed the number in wrong. That's what I said. I didn't blame Mr. Hastings for anything.
The first, you typed the first?
I may have
amount
typed the
wrong?
number in wrong when I read it off.
Well, where is the 70,000?
Okay, that would come out, that's going to come out of the budget, the school budget. So,
But you didn't budget for it, is my question.
well, that's why that's where I was cutting the money, the funds from the athletic budget for that.
Thank you.
okay, let's move on. Are there any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Lawrence.
I have a few
I'll
questions. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to summarize my feelings. This is a great idea.
Thank you.
$78,000 for the students would be a reasonable amount. Third comment, this is huge. Fourth comment, yeah, you want my vote, you can't do a presentation like this. I've got to have detail about everything involved. I've got to hear from the superintendents that they've reviewed it and find it to meet all our requirements with regard to insurance, both liability and workers' comp. If we're going to do academics, what are we doing? How are we going to assess it? How can we show the community we spent money and the students went from this pre-assessment to a post-assessment? Do we have to provide transportation? How are we going to promote something like this? How many students do we expect to have? What if we have not enough volunteers? To the extent we have volunteers, that's great. Does that create any other issues? I've got to have that in front of me, and as been mentioned, it's June 24th, and you want to kick in on July 7th. I don't have that. I can't go along with that.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
So my questions have to do with the what's called the academic portion. And Dominic, you stole my thunder because that's exactly what I was going to ask. Like, what are the metrics in terms of how are we going to assess pre, academic component, and then post. Is there an assessment? Because from what I heard at the curriculum meeting, there doesn't seem to be one. Is this more of like, when I hear enrichment, I hear it's just kind of like a general term. I mean, enrichment, I just bought a book at the book co-op. That's enriching my, literary experience, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm learning a specific skill. So for me, I want to get more detail on what does it mean when you're saying enrichment? Is this more like tutoring? If so, how many students? And are these enough teachers? It's something where there needs to be more detail. I also wanted to ask, you said that this was, Mr. Trevino, you said that this was over at St. Benedict's, right? Over in Newark? Was it done the same way where it was implemented like at the last minute like this? Or was it something that was spread out over time and it was planned out in a way that had greater detail? Can you give me a little bit of history of how the program came to be over at St. Benedict's?
Well, this is how actually it started out as. It started out as something that we teachers put together just to have the chance to be with our students. So that's what I did here.
Right, no, I understand that. What I'm saying is that, was it done at the last minute like it's being done now?
No, and you're right. It was, I actually sent it in earlier, but it changed. And now it got kind of pushed, and now it's a last minute thing. Now, as far as the academic piece, it's more of an enrichment. We're looking to work on skills that students are weak in. Now, so if you're talking about beginning pre-test, post-test, no, this is not the time for pre-tests and post-tests. What we're trying to do is get students to work on skills that they are weak in. And that's easy to look at through our data warehouse. We look at the standards where kids are weak, and we work on those skills. So it's more of an enrichment program than it is sitting in a classroom and being taught. It's more working together with the student on areas that they need help in so they gain understanding. So we're not looking to test students out all summer. They're tested all year. So we don't want to test them. We just want to work with them so they understand, they get the concepts of what they're weak in. And that's what we're looking at as far as the academics. I call it academics because that's what it is, but it's an enrichment program.
So how do we identify where a student is having problems or where a student needs help with, and how do we assess that they've gotten their bang for their buck before they go and they do athletics? I've also got a question on top of that has to do with the athletic portion, but sticking with the academic portion, how do we assess, or do we assess at all, anything in terms of this academic portion of it? Is there any assessment whatsoever?
No, there won't, the only assessment, not going to be a formal assessment for the students. Okay, it's about working and having the kids understand the skills that they're lacking in. Where do we get the data from? We get it from Linkit, we get it from Read 180, System 44. That's where we would get the information. We have their information readily available. That's how our teachers develop their lesson plans as well during the school year. So we would get that data there. It'll tell you where a student is weak, where a student is strong. And using that information, we can determine where kids need to be helped in the areas they need to be helped in.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Gibino, excuse me, as you know, we all care about the children, and we know that you do as well. But for me, it's just that the presentation has not been presented well.
No problem.
So I think that, perhaps for next year, that you would come back and have this more flushed out for us. The questions that Ms. Lazinski had, one of the same ones that I had and the other members, and have, have the budget, prepared. So for me,
And if I can clarify, I wasn't told I was given a presentation tonight. If I was given a presentation tonight, I would have had a presentation, I would have had all the information up there. So I would just ask, I was just told I was being asked questions. So a presentation, I wasn't aware of that. then I would be doing that.
But even, you know, even.
Call
with-
yesterday.
Yeah, but even us asking you questions, Ms. Lozinski asked you some really good questions, and I know that she had asked you in another meeting, and so I would have thought that you would have been better prepared.
Okay.
You know, not my presentation, just being able to answer
Sure.
those questions. So, unfortunately, you know,
That's no problem.
yeah, but thank you.
No problem.
I've got a couple other questions.
Wait a minute.
I got one other question. One more. I know. I had a question about, so I see all the athletic stuff, but what about the kids that would want to do something recreational that has or do with athletics? Have you thought about putting in either music or art or something else into this?
Down the road, yes. Right now, no. We didn't have the time to get all that into play, but yes, we'd like to put in drama and music as well.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to say one thing really quickly, though. I wanted to know if curriculum has looked over your program. Have you looked over it? So some of the questions that you guys are asking in terms of the quality of the program and whether the kids are getting assessed, school administrators have looked at and it's passed them, correct?
We have the ability to give any information or data that is needed for the program. So if there's anything that the program needs, considering that the teacher volunteers have also access to this data, we are always there to provide it for them and assist in any way that we can.
But there's no, I have a question.
My thing is, I want to try to make this work, only because this is, waiting another year for me, this is a critical point for these children. We have, I know that you spoke about mental health components at some point. This summer, this last year has been challenging in a lot of lives. So, and we know Asbury gets hot in the summer, like hot in terms of activity. And this is an opportunity to have something else for the children to do. Now, whether we vote on it tonight or not, it's fine, but I think that we really, really, really need to consider it. And if there's anything that we can work out to make sure that it works, then we need to actually have a real conversation about it.
Yeah, I think
Madam
that,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as a good academic component, I would be for it, but it's lacking that recovery from the 16 months that we just went through. And we're an educational facility, and all our programs should have that academic component. And it's truly missing from here. I know that Mr. Ruiz said that, you know, they have the data in the systems that we use, yes, but there, as Joe just asked, there isn't any concrete, structured academic piece, and that's really missing, as well as the other issues I brought up.
Madam President, I just would like to suggest, maybe we should discuss this, have this discussion in executive session. Can we or can we not? Is that?
I was wondering, is number 29 also Mr. Trevino's program, or is that?
That's the, for the NCCA, we discussed this in committee, didn't we? The NCCA, what you call it?
I don't remember, I think briefly, but I had some unanswered questions.
Okay.
If,
All right, we're trying to get exec, but we're not going to make exec at this point, but,
I guess we could discuss it in the public session when we come up to the agenda items.
okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
No
Trevino.
problem. First thought, Dr. Gray, I'd like to thank you for your service here. Good luck in your new endeavor. Dr. Adams, congratulations and good luck, and let's hit the ground running in September. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino, for coming out to answer questions. Thank you.
Okay, at this point, I would like to open the public participation portion of the meeting. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and if you have any questions and/or comments, feel free.
We do have some emails.
We have emails?
Yes, from Mr. Jake Lewis. Asbury Park, amazing job. Through the COVID-19 year, we managed to have one of the biggest senior classes of graduates in the past few years. Shout out to the teachers, counselors, parents, students, and most important, Miss Gray. Another year, we graduated students with 60 college credits through the DREAM program. From Ms. Shanta Jackson, good evening. It has been an honor and privilege to work with Dr. Sancha K. Gray these past 6 years. Her passion for children aligned with her purpose, which in turn yielded incremental progress for the Asbury Park School District. You can show naysayers better than you can tell them, and you did just that. Continue to walk in your purpose, and all the best to your future endeavors. We have a comment from Charity Kings, Mrs. Gray. We are so delighted and grateful for all that you have done for us during your time with the Asbury Park School District. We appreciate you always being dedicated to our students, parents, staff, and community. Thank you for bringing so much joy, learning, laughter, and appreciation to our community. Your presence is forever appreciated. God bless you on your new journey. With gratitude, Charity Kings, Inc. And from Ms. Sharice Lyles. Mrs. Gray, during your time with the Asbury Park School District, I admire your commitment to building a brighter future for our families and staff. Working under your leadership really allowed me to enjoy doing what I love to do best for our families. When I first met you, I always had a voice with so many ideas, but was the silent choir. You had always guided me to speak up and to keep pursuing what I love to do. I also appreciate you always being there for any and every school or community event. I'm grateful my children's education that has significantly improved over the years. I am sad to see you leave. I also know that it would be selfish of me to not be excited for your new journey. Thank you for all you have done, and good luck in your future endeavors. This is not goodbye, more of a see you soon. Truly, Sharice Lyles.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. We have no calls or anything, right? While we're on the subject, there's a couple of subjects, but I just wanted to talk about the graduation. There was an excellent job done there, hosting it on our own, at our own school. The staff, administration, and teachers did a great job, put on a great graduation. Just, you guys need to be commended for that. Thank you.
How many students graduated? Do we know what the count?
100-something students?
106?
106 students.
Congratulations
The
to
largest
106.
graduating class in over 8 years.
At this point in time, whereas the Open Public Meeting Act allows for the exclusion from discussion at the public portion of a meeting of certain matters as outlined below, and whereas the Asbury Park Board of Education wishes to discuss such matters, made and will make such discussions public when a proper conclusion has been reached, will be going, and therefore it be resolved that June 24, 2021, in Asbury Park, New Jersey, for the purpose as outlined and described below, upon return, action may be taken. We'll be talking about, we'll be getting advice for a personnel matter and a property matter.
Okay, that's fine. So property matter, personnel matter.
Yeah.
And, so you're trying to find advice on the program?
Yeah, and we may discuss a program.
If they get advice.
Get advice from our attorney.
Okay.
All right, thank you. This should be about,
Yeah, so we're normally back here for 7 o'clock, so how long do you think? it's gonna be?
15 minutes, maybe?
It will be 15, maybe say 20, just in case.
20 minutes.
Yeah, great.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to go into exec.
All in favor? In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6, PL 1975, C231, S1, amended 2006, C70, S2, Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending a notice of the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press, the New Coaster, on January 8th, 2021 via email. Copies of this notice have also been placed in the administration building, bulletin board, district schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, and filed with the city clerk on January 8th, 2021. The Asbury Park School District will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skill and character to succeed in a diverse, evolving global society. Roll call, please, Mr. Hastings.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Alves Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Breach? Ms. Cook? Mr. Grillo? Mr. LaRocca? Mr. Remy?
Here.
Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski? Ms. Etienne?
Can we please stand for the flag? Okay, at this point, do we have any presentations?
Yes, we do, Madam President, and members of the board. Tonight, it gives me great pleasure to acknowledge retirees that have had a significant amount of service in the Asbury Park School District. It's obvious with Dr. Adams to my immediate right. We are in the process of transition. At the time of the invitation, the transition wasn't quite solidified, and so I wanted to ensure that we had an opportunity to really take a moment to pause and acknowledge individuals that have had over 30 or more years of service. And so to that end, Dr. Adams will be joining me. Madam President, Madam Vice President, we want to make sure that we have and give the certificates of acknowledgement to the following individuals. I'm going to go over to the mic. Thank you very much. And again, this is significant. We are looking at acknowledging 30 years or more. So I want to thank everyone for your patience, but this is definitely something that is worthy of taking this additional time out because you have served tirelessly in the Asbury Park School District, and we want to make sure that you are acknowledged for exemplary service. Our first awardee, Madam President. Oh, you want to do that? Okay, Madam Vice, the certificates are in order as I call the names. Okay, our first awardee is Monsieur Jean Pizot. Mr. Pizot has served the Asbury Park Schools for 30 years. Thank you so much for your dedication. Our next awardee is Lynette Red Robinson. Thank you for 30 years of service. She has served the Asbury Park School District as our one of our custodial engineers. Our next awardee is Angela Dillard, who served our district for 33 years as an exemplary elementary ed teacher. I'm fully vaccinated. Okay, no, she's not. That's kind of how we have to reach other nowadays. Our next awardee is Maureen Casey. She has served tirelessly 34 years of service in the Asbury Park School District. Ms. Casey's not with us tonight. Ms. Hughley, 35 years of service. I want to thank you so much for your dedication. Congratulations. Our next awardee, 38 years of service, goes to Ms. Penny Dees. We recently had an opportunity to also recognize Ms. Dees for her service to our community at large at our virtual Black History Month extravaganza. Thank you so much, Ms. Dees, for your service to our school district. Affectionately known to me as Rev, I want to take this opportunity to recognize Reverend Joseph Calhoun, our security officer, 39 years of service to the Asbury Park School District. Thank you so much, Rev. You've always been so delightful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And last but certainly not least, she's just last in terms of the exemplary number of years of service. And I know we'll have an opportunity, well, there will be an opportunity for Dr. Adams to extend this acknowledgement next school year. But I must mention, because she was very devoted and she ensured that my transition was as smooth as possible. And that would be Roberta Buford. 41 years of service to the Asbury Park School District. When I went to Thurgood Marshall, the first thing they told me when I entered the district was, that's the house that Buford built. So I just want to make sure that, again, although she is not here, we thank her so much for her dedication to the Asbury Park School District. That completes the names of the list of retirees, but the celebrations continue. We were not fortunate to be able to acknowledge the Teachers of the Year, the Governor's Teacher of the Year, due to COVID. This is an esteemed recognition because these individuals are voted on by their peers. And so we want to take this moment to make sure that you all have an opportunity to see. I want the board to also make sure that they are acknowledged and that you know who our Governor, Educator of the Year, and our Teacher of the Year awardees are. Typically, this is a luncheon that's done at Monmouth University. It's very extravagant, linen, china, wonderful meal. I'm so sorry that you were not able to participate in that delightful luncheon. But we want to nonetheless ensure that we are acknowledging you. Tonight, Crystal Norman, thank you so much. We are recognizing her. And if I could just see. Yeah. We're going to ask the retirees before you go to come back. And we're going to take group pictures. And it's definitely, I know it's time consuming, but it is worth the acknowledgement because these are people who have been very dedicated. So this is the Governor's Educator of the Year Award Program being awarded to Crystal Norman. Again, thank you so much for your service. Dorothy Bowles. Thank you so much for your service. Lauren Golden. Don't get comfortable in your seat because we want to keep you up here. We want to get a group picture. Lauren Golden, thank you so much for your service to the Asbury Park School District. These beautiful certificates and plaques. Jamie Clark, I think we haven't gotten all of the plaques out. Jamie Clark, did I see her tonight? No, okay, she's also being recognized. Brian Hackett, guidance counselor extraordinaire. Thank you so much for your service. Sean Hamilton. There he is. Thank you so much for your service. When we were transitioning back from coming into the building, I walked in Sean's class and he was just going to town in that camera on Zoom with those students. Michelle James. Cornelia Nicholson. I didn't recognize you. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. Tanya Peterson. Our music teacher. And the last individual is no longer with us in the district, but again, due to COVID, we were not able to have the formal acknowledgement. And at her request, she asked if Dr. Adams would receive it on her behalf, and that would be Tony Terry. She was a very instrumental member of the team for the Dream Academy, which is our dual college enrollment program. She was a paraprofessional. She's relocated, so she is alive and well. She's just not here today. And last but not least, if I go back to the retirees, Ethel Love. She's retiring with 35 years of service to the Asbury Park School District. If it's in the box. Thank you so much, Ms. Love. Yeah. Yeah. Just give us one moment, Ms. Love. But in the meantime, I just want to personally thank you so much for your service too. 35 wonderful years. If we could have all of our retirees now come back up front, we'd like to get a group picture with you. I would like to get a group picture with you, as well as our board members, please. We're talking 30 plus years, all of us. 30 plus years of service, dedicated service to the Asbury Park School District students.
You have one of those for us? I don't have anything for us.
You want this? No, it's probably
Congratulations. If we could just take a picture now with our Educator of the Year recipients, please.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Congratulations.
out in September.
It's gonna be out September to January.
Sounds about right.
That completes my presentations. I just have a report that I will be giving at this point. In terms of the data, you'll find that in your packet in terms of our enrollment data, but I wanted to read my report into the record. As you know, this is my transition. This is my last meeting as the superintendent of schools. And so I wanted to just give a very brief yet comprehensive overview. I want to thank the Asbury Park Board of Education, our state monitor, parents, families, and community members for the opportunity to have served this district. In the almost 7 years that I've served in this district, we've accomplished a lot. Number one, the Office of Legislative Services audit. It began June 2018 by a team of auditors from the Office of Legislative Services. The Office of the State Auditor arrived to conduct a comprehensive audit of the district for the period of July 2016 through December 2018. The team was in district from June 2018 through May 2019, 1 year. Their report was dated November 2019. It reflected 26 comments over 8 general categories of district operation. The audit team returned in December 2020 for follow-up and concluded the follow-up in April 2021, 5 months later. In their exit conference, it was noted that the district was fully 16 categories, or partially 9 categories, compliant in all areas. That is significant, that after a review, a comprehensive review from the Office of Legislative Services, which is above the New Jersey Department of Education, all 9 compliant, partially compliant issues were timing-based. In other words, we would, during the time of their review, which was in April, they needed to have it extended until June. But to see and know that after a full year and a review of 26 areas, that the district was able to be fully or partially compliant speaks volumes for the great work that not only the Board of Education has been engaged in, but the executive leadership team and their respective teams to follow. This is the first time in a long time for the Asbury Park School District that we could celebrate that audit. The second thing is the first ever dual college program, and the fact that we graduated 2 cohorts of 32 Dream Academy students. These are students with a high school diploma and an associate's degree during the pandemic for 2 years. And we held in-person graduation for all Asbury Park High School graduates. This is the first time in over 7 years that more students were committed to 4-year colleges over community college. This past Tuesday night, we had the highest number of graduates graduating in over 8 years. We were blessed to have 106 students grace and cross the Asbury Park High School stage for graduation. We implemented a comprehensive literacy initiative that included adult literacy for our English-speaking parents and bilingual families to address the low perpetual student performance. The graduation rate has continued to increase. We've noted an increase of from 49% when I arrived to 83% as of 2020, and we are awaiting the results for this school year for 2021. and we maintained and sustained this during a pandemic. That's not the work of a superintendent alone. That's the work of dedicated individuals that sit around this dais with me and their respective teams. We have current and updated curricula. When I arrived, there was no curriculum in sight, pre-kindergarten to 12th grade in all content areas at every grade level. At this time, under my leadership, we have had the highest CUSAC rating in instruction and programs in a decade. We continue to ensure that curriculum is updated and reflects the most current standards. We've established and maintained one of the most comprehensive SEL initiatives in the state, and we integrate it throughout our curriculum. We've been recognized repeatedly for our comprehensive social and emotional learning program. We closed the gap of the first level of the digital divide at the height of the pandemic, using CARES Act funds to purchase LTE-enabled tablets for Wi-Fi connectivity for every single student in the Asbury Park School District. That is a result of very thoughtful planning and fiscal accountability and responsibility from my business office and the support of the Board of Education. The creation of an interactive SEL newsletter and a committee to provide students and families with resources during the pandemic. We will be releasing the final 8th edition of the social and emotional newsletter that's continuing to support our students and our families throughout the summer. We've developed high quality and sustained professional development for all staff, even during a pandemic. We maintain that. And the creation of English Learners, an English Learners Committee to help develop strategies to provide targeted support. In closing, as I transition away from my role as superintendent of schools, I want to thank you all again for your support during these unprecedented times. We've accomplished a lot, but there's still a lot to do. The load is lighter when we work together on behalf of our children. To that end, I am delighted that the care and concern for our children will continue with Dr. Rashawn Adams at the helm as the acting superintendent of schools. Please join me in welcoming him, as this is my last meeting. Madam Vice President, that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you. Time for public participation in accordance with Board Policy 0167. If anybody has a comment, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. Seeing there's no public Jeff, excuse me. Oh, sorry.
Ma'am, excuse me, could you put your name for the record, if you bring the microphone? And you can be heard with the microphone. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Felia Kendall. If you need my address, it's
Yes,
on
please.
4th Avenue in Asbury Park.
Great, thank you.
But I'm back. I had asked before about something that I had a concern about, which was the fall sports. I still have that concern because I see that it has, as far as the assistant coaches, it has been reduced. But unless I'm wrong, and maybe one of you can tell me because you were there too, the football team that was at that luncheon, I know some of them may have gone away already or done something, but was there more of the team? And I don't know if you know for sure or not. You don't know? Me neither.
But when I was here before, I made a comment. I said there were 10 coaches for the football team, and you told me it was because of COVID, and I said, I understand because COVID
Ms.
was
Kendall,
there.
could you direct your question to me as board president, and then I'll defer to the superintendent if she wants to engage in an answer?
The
Okay.
superintendent is leaving. But okay.
Oh, yeah, have to talk to me, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Then, like I said, that was my question before. I got an answer. My question now is, why that number?
The number of coaches?
No, I know you have to have a head coach, the assistants.
I don't have an answer for you on the whys, it's the recommendation, and I'm sure the superintendent can get back to you on that, about why the number of coaches per team, and there's different divisions in a football, there's defense
Yes.
and offense. And
Oh, I know, you know
and-
what? I know a lot
Right.
about football,
So,
and I know about it in Asbury Park.
I'm sure we'll get an answer for you.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, I was reading this, and they're going to, thank God, they're going to, at least, you have a lot of things planned for the summer for the children to do. Great. But there was one thing I read in here, like there's some programs. What are these like initial costs on this paper?
I can come and speak to you on that, because I have to see what you're referring to on each one
Okay.
of those, okay?
No
'Cause
problem.
you weren't here during the work session, we went through quite a bit of that and discussed it.
No problemo, I'll be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Kendall. Mr. Hastings, are there any questions, emails, phone?
We have nothing on the emails.
Seeing there's no more public participation, I'm going to close it. Oh, I'm sorry, go right ahead, sir.
I'm Martez Williams. I'm looking at the use of facility.
Sir, I'm sorry, just your name and address for the record?
25 Borden Ave, Asbury Park.
Thank you, sir, thank you.
I'm looking at the use of facility section, and I see that Asbury Park youth football is not on here. And we like a Class 2 organization, and we filled out all the proper documents to.
I'm sorry, you're AYF?
Yes.
Yes, so AYF is a Class 2.
Yes.
So the arrangement with AYF and some of our other Class 2s for the fall, winter, and spring areas is that they pay a $1,000 fee.
Yes.
That fee covers costs, and then it's just approved. So there's no board action taken on those.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I'll close the public comment section now. State Monitor, Ms. Morse, do you have any statement tonight? No? We're going to go with Ms. Weinkauf, and we're done with the agenda, so we'll skip that and go to the acceptance of minutes. Mr. Hastings, can you read the acceptance?
Yes, 1 second, please.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have a motion for the minutes A1, number 11, A through E?
Move it.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Ms. Breach? Ms. Alves Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca?
Yes on D, abstain on A, B, C, and E.
Thank you. Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Gray, you want to call for a consent agenda on your agenda items? I'm sorry.
I think we need a motion on A2, number 12.
I'm sorry, I didn't have my agenda up since I have my computer going. Have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Questions? Roll call?
This is for the adoption of the amended calendar. Mr. LaRocca?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Ms. Alves Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Breach? Yes. Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders? Yes. Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Vice President, I'd like to request a consent agenda for items B1 to B10, which includes the addenda on B10.
So we want to move it?
Move it.
Questions?
Yes. Some questions about some items we didn't have time for in workshop. Can I? Number 12, just get some more information with regard to the selection of that group. And I know we've been looking at professional development being more in-house. So how does that all fit in, and what was the background on that?
This is leadership, and we've used in the past this organization for board support and strategic planning, as well as executive leadership training, Lean Six Sigma training as well.
And I had a question on number 29. Number 29, exactly what is that? And how was that organization selected?
Number 29 is, again, it goes back to ensuring that our athletes have the support that they need to go through the clearinghouse, as well as other supports to get them prepared specifically for the academic as well as admissions process for college. They'll be working with families to ensure that they have support in the FAFSA, helping them navigate the College Board, and ensuring that they are also positioned to apply to the right category of schools, D1, D1A, D2. I'm not sure I know that specific language. Yes, you're right. That was good.
And it's your recommendation we don't have people on staff who can carry out those duties?
That is correct. This is very sharply focused on ensuring that students that are scholar athletes are positioned and getting the proper supports that they need in order to apply to and even know which schools meet their profile. And that's above and beyond typically what you would expect from a guidance department.
And how was the selection process? We used this group in the past?
This is a new item. This is a new initiative. It folds into also coming off the heels of coming out of a pandemic, this bridge year. There's a lot of other variables now that we want to make sure we have solidly in place for our scholar athletes as we try to ensure that they are looking at, in a very comprehensive way, schools that meet their profile.
But selection, how was this organization selected? Another organization says
This came to me, pardon, excuse me.
Sorry.
This was a recommendation that was made to me from our athletic director.
Was there a competitive process?
This is not typically something that would follow or need to follow that type of a competitive process. We did receive a quote from another organization, but this individual came as a recommendation from the athletics director.
Mr. Lacroix, I'm sorry. We talked about this several months ago in athletics, and then we spoke about it in curriculum just recently, and it was presented by the athletic department. And there was a couple questions that we had asked, and one of them was a letter of recommendation for this individual. And I don't know if everybody got it today. There's a letter. But if I can pull it out, I gotta find it. The letter came without a letterhead from a gentleman that said his title was a principal, but it really doesn't address the qualifications of the individual for the task he's being hired for, so I'm not quite sure if he's done this somewhere else, and that was my question specifically. And I know that we had gotten a resume also, and he says in his resume, his experience, someone that did not take a course, read it in a book, but that had lived it for 30 years, but it doesn't say anything about qualifications for, I guess he's a consultant, I'm not quite sure.
Is it possible to table that until next meeting, until we all get a chance to kind of
Make-
digest it all?
You can make a motion to table that, sure.
All right, I'd like to, should I do that
Go right
now?
ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table 29
Have a second?
until next time.
Is there a second?
I would second, and well, in your motion then, would we see more detail on the background, and there were then two organizations, what was the other one? And with the idea that there'll be more information, I second the motion.
So you're taking Mr. Grillo's made a motion to table or to remove from the table for lack of information, and there's been a second by Mr. LaRocca. Is that accurate? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Mr. Hastings, roll call?
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. LaRocca?
Yes.
Ms. Alves Anderson?
No.
Ms. Breach? Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders? No. Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
Motion carries to table the item. 4-3.
So
we
that
still
item's been removed from the table, the number 29.
Correct.
Just to be clear.
So we still have a consent agenda, B1 through B10, excluding number 29.
Does anyone else have any questions that weren't covered during the, I don't think I do. Oh, I just wanted to mention the two positions. If the superintendent can just go over them real quick, the alternate learning lab and the learning acceleration, which I think is a benefit to, what's happened in the past 16 months.
Absolutely. So under the leadership of Dr. Howard Morris, with our social and emotional learning initiative, one of the areas that we are paying very close attention to is how we are supporting students in a non-disciplinary way. The Alternative Learning Lab does just that. We understand that we have students that are coming out of trauma, students that have missed significant amount of time in the brick and mortar setting, and they may need to have additional support outside of the classroom to help them get acclimated back into transitioning into the brick and mortar setting. The Alternative Learning Lab teacher is that position is designed to do just that. Be a place for students that need this additional support. They may need mindfulness, they may need yoga, They may just need an opportunity to speak to someone to help them. So it's a non-disciplinary, non-punitive way of trying to support our children. Dr. Howard Morris, is there any additional commentary you'd like to add?
No, that's really it, but just in particular at that age group, talking about fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, the last thing you want to do is issue punitive measures on their behavior. We're trying to change their behavior. So the Alternative Learning Lab is just an alternative way of addressing their behaviors.
Thank you. Any other questions for the agenda? Roll call, please.
For all items except 29, Ms. Breach? Mr. Saunders? Ms. Alves Anderson?
All items except on B, thank you, B8, I believe, just a second. Okay, number 30, no.
Thank you. Mr. Grillo?
Yes on all items, except 30. That's a no.
Mr. LaRocca?
Yes on all items except no on 30.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Lozinski?
Yes on all items, no on number 30.
All items carry. Item 30 does not.
Mr. Hastings, you want your agenda?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Could I have a motion for all items C1, number 1, to C12, number 38?
Move it.
Second.
Questions?
I've got a question on,
I'm sorry, before your question, could I just note the donations to our scholarship funds on page C2, number 5A, a donation from Kearney Bank, and item B and C, donations from Purple Glazed Donuts.
hello, perfectly.
Thank you. Be happy to take questions. Or donuts.
I'll take donuts. That was my question, actually, about the donuts. No. I have a question about C7, number 17 and 18. And I think I've heard the explanation before, but just because COVID fog. I see that number 17, we're approving the auditing services from one firm. But then down the line, there's, on 18C, we see we're approving the services of another auditor at a different rate. So my question is, why do we have two auditing firms?
So the item on 18C, Holman Frenier Allison, at $66,000.
Yeah.
That's the auditing firm that does our annual, comprehensive annual financial audit. They go through all our books and go through the various activities that took place during any given school year, and they audit that and then write the annual report that goes to the state for filing. They would note any exceptions that we have, any corrections that may need to be made during the school year with anything that didn't follow proper protocol. In order to avoid us not getting those sorts of things, we use Lurch Vinci Higgins, and the reason we're using a separate accounting firm is because the Holman Frenier accounting firm would view that as a conflict of interest to work with us during the school year to make corrections and to make suggestions to us on how to handle any particular problem, and then at the end of the day audit us on those same sort of recommendations. So we use Lurch Vinci as sort of a third-party group that if we have questions or if we want them to review particular issues, we use that group, and they assist both the district and the early childhood department.
So is this standard practice with other school districts to have two auditing firms?
When we reached out, and when this process first started, the firms both were aware and had done this in other districts. The state monitor may have a different opinion of that, but we have seen this in other districts.
I think, Joe, it's a check and balance. It's similar to, two lawyers. You can't have.
No, I understand.
As the monitor just noted, our previous monitor, this was the recommendation from Dr. Richens, our current county superintendent at the time.
What's our current monitor's position on it? I said, what's our current monitor's position on having two auditing firms?
I think it's working well for the district,
Okay.
and they were in some very difficult audit recommendations at the time, and so I would certainly recommend that it be continued.
Okay. I won't belabor the point. I know I've heard questions about it, so I wanted to bring it up and get an answer. Thanks.
And I might also add, as the district administration is consolidating, the business department has consolidated 2 positions, including our accountant and our accounts payable person. So I think it's even more important now that we have a third eye looking things over.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? I just have a question, Mr. Hastings. The facilities use, I'm trying to figure out where does this organization fit in our facilities use classes?
So my understanding after a discussion with our buildings and grounds supervisor, who has spoken with the group, this is a spin-off from AYF. This is a second group, much like we had in the past Pop Warner and AYF. This is now AYF and a secondary group. Right now, the Kazik Brothers football group does not fall into any of those classes that we have established, except the third class, which is all other groups. Our first is the city and city rec, and allowing them to use the facility. Then, as we mentioned under the question from the gentleman from AYF, we have that second group that has football, basketball, and a little league, where they pay $1,000 and use the facility for their seasons. And the $1,000 is used to offset our custodial and maintenance costs. And then we have all other applicants. As this group may be fairly new, they have not yet been considered to move into that second tier.
Is there consideration, I know that B&G, you did discuss this application at one point, or am I mistaken?
We did discuss Kazik Brothers football in May, I believe. In May, we had a number of requests for use of facilities from various groups. At that time, Kazik Brothers was looking for a fee waiver, but they had not yet provided the letter that's required. So we withheld it from the May meeting, and they've since provided the information we requested, and that's why they're on our June agenda.
Was there a consideration at that time to also allow them to pay $1,000 in lieu of fees at any point, or was that not discussed?
That was not.
Being a youth football in town, I don't know.
Right, so that was not discussed at that meeting. The board in the past has made adjustments to use requests where they've asked in certain situations that groups pay facility fees and not pay the actual room fees, and so it's at the board's discretion.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call then.
Mr. LaRocca? Mr. Grillo?
This is on all the Cs, including the bills to be paid?
This is C1 through C12, all items, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, yes on all items, abstain from any bills to be paid to New Jersey American Water, JCP&L, and NJ Media Works.
I'm sorry, that last group?
NJ Media Works?
Thank you. Ms. Alves Anderson?
Yes to everything except abstaining from, what is it?
NJ Media Works.
NJ Media Works. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Breach?
Yes.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders? Ms. Lozinski?
Yes.
All items carry. Thank you.
Before we have Ms. Weinkauf present the superintendent's search overview to the board, Ms. Alves Anderson, did you have something that you wanted to add before?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Dr. Sancha K. Gray took the ball and not only ran with it, but created a legacy all her own. In the face of unprecedented challenges, in the face of an unforgiving pandemic, budget cuts, and a chorus of naysayers, Dr. Gray led our schools with calm, grace, and intelligence. Under her leadership, not only did we survive, but we prevailed. 85% graduation rate, dropout rate plummeted. Our second year of our cohorts that graduated from Dream Academy, in the largest graduating class in 8 years, that all are going to 4-year colleges. Most importantly, through your leadership, Dr. Gray, our students, they definitely can take pride in saying that they are a Blue Bishop. Let that be your legacy, Dr. Gray. You should take a bow. And I and all the board members, we thank you for your service. And we wish you much happiness and success in all of your endeavors. And we thank you for the time that you spent here with us.
Thank you.
Ms. Weinkauf, it's your turn. I'm sorry. Go right ahead, Dominic.
Brief comment. I'd like to make a comment about Lamont Repollet. Lamont came to this district. I met him. I wasn't on the school board. I was working at Brookdale Community College at the time, and he came. I think it was a meeting about getting the Dream Academy, and Lamont, and I'm on tape now, so I guess we can tell. You know, he's a good speaker. He gave an inspiring presentation speech to begin with. I'd been in higher education at that point for over 20 years. I heard a lot of good speeches. And I thought, okay, are we really going to get anything done here? My opinion of Lamont was pretty much established in the next 10 minutes when he went to get a cup of coffee and Dr. Sancha Gray took over the meeting, and I realized, wow, we're going to get something done here. Something's going to happen. So I don't know if you remember, that's when we first met, but you make things happen, you get things done. Wish you the best, and I know you're going to keep getting things done. And as it works out for me, there was someone else there who then also did a lot of that legwork to get that Dream Academy going. And here we go, Dr. Adams. So what was that, 6, 7 years ago? And we're at it. So thank you for all you've done. I know you're going to keep getting things done, Sancha, moving forward. And Dr. Adams, I know we've got our list ahead, and you've proven you can get things done, and we'll keep going. Thank you.
So Sancha, I will also say on my behalf, it's been a real honor and privilege to be able to work with you these past years. And to Dominic's point, when Lamont brought you in, he brought a real gem in. So it's been a real honor and privilege to work with you.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I'm very full and overwhelmed. Thank you for your comments.
No, Ms. Weinkauf is going to give us an overview of the superintendent search procedure for those of you who haven't been through this before. It's going to be stimulating. As long as there's 5 here. We're going to go into closed session then to do this so that we can all discuss everything without
For personnel.
personnel, whereas the Open Public Meetings Act allows for the exclusion, from discussing at the public portion of a meeting any certain matters as outlined below, and whereas the Asbury Park Board of Education wishes to discuss such matters made and will make such discussion public when a proper conclusion has been reached. Now therefore be resolved that the Asbury Park Board of Education will hold a closed executive session on this date, June 24th, 2021, at Asbury Park, New Jersey, for the purpose as personnel matters. As superintendent search, no action will be taken.
And I think we're going to stay here, Ms.
I need a motion
Motion.
and a second.
Saying all those in favor?
Aye.
We're not gonna have 5. Oh, I'm not going to, we still need 5. Yeah, we need 5. Yeah, but he's leaving. He's catching the flight.
Oh, really?